And so to be sort of at the forefront within the platform that has made these attempts at the live audio space, the streaming space, the tipping space, subscription space, has just been invaluable in terms of the actual real lessons, successes and failures, but more importantly, the learnings that can be applied across the board, agnostic of vertical or agnostic of industry.
This is the Snarketing Podcast. For marketers, by marketers. Talking to marketers with just a touch of snark. Now, here are your hosts, Valerie Vespa and Matt Wurst.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to a Texas-sized edition of the Snarketing Podcast. I'm Matt Wurst.
And I am Valerie Vespa.
And we are Texas-sized for a reason, because our guest today, if you know him or know anything about him, he represents the state of Texas as well as anybody. He went to school there. He lives there. But we'll get to our guest in a second, because I'm actually... So when we were together at A&A a few weeks ago, Valerie, there was something that we said, you know what? In our next intro, we have to talk about. But my attention span has gotten to the point where, thanks to AI and social media, I can't remember past 6 seconds ago. So I hope you remember it, because I don't know what the hell we were going to talk about. Do you remember?
And I was thinking about it, and I'm coming up completely blank.
All right, awesome, fantastic. All right, so listener, you're in luck. We are not going to bore you with something that may or may not have been interesting to you. However, we should apologize, since this is the first time we are recording since the lost episode debacle with Tom, who is a gentleman and incredible. And if you saw what we shared last time in our conversation from A&A with Tom Morrissey from Noble People, we actually recorded twice, and neither time was the content usable. I think it's the most embarrassed I may have ever been.
Because of sound, not for any other reason.
Yeah, it was just like the equipment live did not work. That's
equipment.
What sometimes happens. Yes.
Don't be hard on yourself.
I once got suspended in kindergarten for mooning a bus on a dare, and that since then nothing like that has made me felt as ashamed as a human being. Ironically, though, what happened in the middle of our recording with Tom that will be lost for the ages? What rolled up in the middle of our episode? a giant bus. So I don't know. I have like bus PTSD now. All of my embarrassing moments have happened in or around or with buses. So, but some good things have happened on buses too, including meeting some great people on the way to like Media Link parties and in Cannes. So, all right. So this episode, we promise the audio will work. Actually, we should not promise. We hope the audio will work. Right? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And I can. And we have a lovely guest today. And Matt, you introduced me to him, and he's a wonderful human. very excited to have him on here. He's got a very interesting past and career, rather. So really looking forward to the session.
Yeah, I think the only reason I really invited him on, besides all the intelligence he's going to drop and knowledge, is I just want to be plus ones at all of the events that he gets invited to. Because he travels in a circle that I didn't even know existed until like a few weeks ago.
I know, I feel like a full-on loser in comparison, but yeah, that's fine.
All right, well, we'll ask him not to make us feel like a loser any more than we already do, and just jump and welcome Justin Johnson.
We're joined by Justin Johnson, a marketing leader who's helped shape the creator economy from the inside out. From building partnerships at Meta, to bringing creators into Web3 at MoonPay, to driving cultural collaborations at Acorns with everyone from MrBeast to Michelle Obama, Justin has lived at the intersection of creators, culture, and commerce. Let's dive in.
JJ, welcome to the Snarketing Podcast. I call you JJ. You are Justin Johnson, but does anyone actually call you Justin?
Some people do. But
they do? Okay.
I can't tell you who, because I'm not sure. I respond to both. I mean, I have it written on my shirt, so that way I never meet a stranger. They always know my name, at least.
Well, this is how I know you, and this is how now our listeners will get to know you. But let's dig into all that is behind the burnt orange jacket that is JJ, because you and I have known each other for a few years. We are all pros at conferencing, which is where we met. But your career is
self-proclaimed title, by the way.
Well, collectively. But you have interesting stories to tell, which is why your presence is always welcome and you're always invited to these things. But your career sits at this unique intersection that not many people can say that they have mastered, which is creator, culture, and commerce. You're like my influencer marketing go-to expert in the space. So what drew you to this space in the first place?
Yeah, and thank you sincerely. I love to joke. That's the humor and friendship that you and I have, and for the listeners to pick up on. But when I think about the intersections that you mentioned of creators, commerce, and culture, this takes me back to earlier in my career, um, when I first had the opportunity. This is now dating myself. 2014. At the time, I joined a small company called Facebook, and now it's Meta. It's way bigger than it's ever been. But we'll go backwards and I'll come back forwards. At the time, Facebook was one of the rising companies that people wanted to be a part of. It was growing. It was at the time maybe a few 100 million users active, monthly actives, which is still ridiculous in its own sense in terms of scale, right? But you look at it today, it's in the billions and it's global, and it's way bigger than just the Blue app, what it used to be. But 2014 rolls around, and there's this surge in the importance of small business and having a digital footprint online where you could effectively reach customers from your office, bedroom, kitchen, etc., by clicking a few buttons, and all of a sudden your Facebook ad could appear in someone's mobile device or desktop. And that was revolutionary because at the time the market chokehold was essentially search on Google. And looking back, when I joined Facebook originally, it was to help small to medium-sized businesses essentially just drive commerce. And commerce could have been to sell a product, service, you name it, right? And having that opportunity and having that experience early on really showed me the grand scale of what Facebook could become and what it has ultimately become. And within that, I was having the luxury. This is now 2018, so I stayed at the company for a little over 8 years. But now it's 2018, and at the time, just to give a reference point, Vine was the hottest thing on the internet. And YouTube was slowly becoming known as the place where you put content, but you don't make money off of it, but you get a lot of eyeballs, a lot of clicks. But Vine was really this tipping point where you had the OG creators, many of which who still create content to this day, were getting millions of views and millions of followers, but $0. Right? So it's 2018.
Which is, by the way, which is why Vine's legacy only lasted about 6 seconds, because they couldn't figure that out, right?
Right. So then in comes Facebook at the time to realize there's an opportunity to essentially mirror. At the time, AdSense had just rolled out on YouTube not too long prior, but to essentially mirror that on Facebook, which had way more reach than YouTube. And so the plan was, and I was a part of this plan, was to get the top YouTube creators onto Facebook to monetize their content either exclusively or non-exclusively and see what happens. And that's effectively what I worked on for about 4 years at the company, leading a lot of the outreach and engagement efforts for the United States across Facebook. Then it expanded to Instagram. Then it expanded to Messenger. Just because as I was there through the company of 2014 to 2022, acquisitions were made, products were launched, integrations were had. And so it really gave me this front row seat from buying ads as an advertiser, as a small business, to then becoming a content creator who had a media library that could be monetized now on Facebook and through Facebook distribution outside of just the Blue app. So again, Instagram as a quick reference point. I was there when Instagram launched Stories, which essentially was a nod to Snapchat, right? And then a lot of the monetization efforts around that. I was there when Facebook launched, what was it called? I think Live Audio Rooms, which essentially competed with Clubhouse. If you remember during COVID,
yeah.
It was the hot, like Twitter Spaces, right? It was the hottest thing, but then it flopped really quickly, not too long after launch, because you realize quickly, like, you can pump a lot of dollars into these things, but if the community isn't built for these specific voices, then it'll fizzle out. And that's what happened, right? They got a lot of notable voices, but in terms of tune in and viewership, the numbers weren't really, the math wasn't mathing.
So from your time at Meta to like getting to MoonPay, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, and now at Acorns, like, what do you think? What is that common thread? And I'm assuming it has to do with creators, culture, and commerce. But just like, can you broadly speak to?
So if you fast forward to through the 8 years, 2022 rolls around, Web3 is the hottest thing. There's this company called MoonPay, which is still very much involved with creators. There's just much larger scale. So you're looking at, and you can Google all this to find the timestamps of like Paris Hilton on the Jimmy Fallon show, Jimmy Fallon talking about Bored Apes. You find Justin Bieber buying a multi-million-dollar Bored Ape. This is all facilitated through MoonPay, right? And these are some of the biggest household names on the planet talking about Web3, crypto, NFTs, etc. And so joining that company was a sort of cohesion of creators and then commerce, but then you layer on culture, right? Because at the time and present day, it's more widely known and accepted of like having crypto or a digital wallet, etc. But 2022, still very foreign. Things that were minted and created for free or a few, dollars on the cents, cents on the dollar, were worth millions of dollars. And so you were printing all this digital money that's many actually cashed in on, right? So I was at MoonPay for just shy of about a year and a half. Then I took a sabbatical to kind of find my ground again and recenter and do sort of this eat, pray, love moment where I'm traveling the world, I'm eating everything in sight, praying a ton, just to like find purpose and find passion of what I wanted to do outside of NFTs and crypto. And then I came across Acorns, right? And so Acorns is sort of this different stop on my career where when you think about culture, I mean, you look at their cap table, for example, you've got Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Ashton Kutcher, A-Rod, J-Lo, etc. Some very notable names that have been involved for many, many years, both on the cap table as well as in their likeness on advertisements as well, even product collaborations as well. But when I think the through line between Facebook, MoonPay, Acorns, this idea of like creators, commerce, and culture, especially present day now more than ever, I would say that you really, as a business, need creators to shift cultural perception to then ultimately drive commerce, right? And I use commerce really loosely, but it's ultimately conversion, right? Commerce is convert to take some sort of specific action. And you've seen that both in the like of Acorns, having worked there and done some collaborations with some top creators to drive conversions or commerce. But then you see it across various industries, both within the fintech space and without. So it's been a very unique on the ground front of line training that I've had at essentially like the largest social media platform on the planet to one of the emerging technology of that raised a Series A of $555 million at 3.4 billion valuation off the bat. Then more recently, as I mentioned, Acorns, the largest consumer fintech subscription service in the United States, right? So it's like the giants within each sort of realm, and then kind of just finding the through line throughout.
Was there a moment, or can you identify early influences and pivotal moments that shaped and established like the creator economy, or was it really a slow burn?
When you saw programs like AdSense, and when I saw programs that I helped roll out for Facebook for the Facebook Creator Program, where you had these behemoths that are wanting, willing, and needing to share revenue with people that live all around the world who just, not to undermine it, but create content, right, online. That was a very new concept and idea. And even if you look at how long the AdSense program has been around, or even the Facebook Creator Program, like it's still relatively like new, like call it like a decade old, plus or minus a few years, right? While that has been great to see, it's also driven a lot more competition and diversification for creators, which is a positive thing, right? To drive that innovation, to understand what are the opportunities beyond just ad revenue sharing? Is it subscription based type content? Is it tipping? Is it streaming? Is it a mix of all these things? Maybe it's a newsletter. And so to be sort of at the forefront within the platform that has made these attempts at the live audio space, the streaming space, the tipping space, subscription space, has just been invaluable in terms of the actual real lessons, successes and failures, but more importantly, the learnings that can be applied across the board, agnostic of vertical or agnostic of industry.
In your most recent role as head of marketing development at Acorns, you partnered with everyone from celebrities to influencers. How do you think about choosing the right creators?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a science and an art, because at the end of the day, there needs to be a return to justify the investments of the different costs associated with any sort of talent, right? And their likeness that's associated with that. And so a few sort of lenses that I look at would be, off the bat, is the individual or talent a brand fit, right? So knowing what the company stands for and represents, does the person embody the brand values, right? Or is it complete opposite? If like we were to partner with someone and they're essentially like anti-saving and investing off the bat, probably not a good fit just off the bat. The other thing too, right? Are they controversial or non-controversial, right? And it's not to say that we're looking for a perfect person, but the reality is that by us, not only just with the brand associating with them, we're also anchoring to give their audience a perception of the brand, to understand, like, we support whatever this individual says or does, right? And I think there's always sort of the gray area to operate in, of like, sometimes some people make mistakes, and those have happened years in the past, but the internet doesn't forget. And then the other things that I've kept in mind would be investment, right? There's fixed budgets. I don't have an infinite amount of money that I can just spread around the world. And so being mindful, if I go with A, the trade-off is I cannot go with B, C, D, etc. So being very mindful of that. And then the other things would be the audience. Is there audience alignment as well? From like, if we want to get in front of young males, then we probably need to lean into creators' talent that has a young male heavy demo, versus like, if I want to talk to young males and I'm going the opposite by going with a young female, there might be some young males that follow the young female, but more times than not, the young male has the young male demo following them. And then lastly, it would be then doing as I mentioned earlier, like the investment, the ROI, and the exercise of like, what can we predict to be true for output, right? And where does that get us in terms of actual driving commerce, or again, conversion, to grow the brand, but also more importantly, grow the business.
So there's a transparency component to that, right? Like, you want to align with the right creators and influencers who represent your brand. You want your audience, your consumer, to know that this is a real relationship, right? You're not hiding behind it. Everyone knows when creators or influencers are doing this with a brand. It's not like, I mean, you have to disclose it, but
especially in the fintech space, you absolutely.
Yeah, compliance is a whole new layer.
FINRA, all the acronyms, we got them all.
How do you ensure or structure a relationship in a way that still feels authentic and doesn't come off as transactional?
I mean, so I'm very old school in the sense that, like, I always like to meet with the talent and the teams before there's ever a check signed. And that's to really get to know people as people primarily, or first off, in that aspect, to really understand, like, who are you when the camera's off, right? And like, what does that mean? And is there a connection that you can feel and understand from you as a prospective partner to humanize the brand that you'd be working with? And so for me, it's like really the whole idea and concept of like shaking hands literally in person, to just really establish the rapport and let them know that when you're dealing with the company, you're dealing with me, because I'm a real person at the company that cares about making sure that we have the most success while you have the most success. And if there's any discrepancy, like, how do we fill the void and how can we partner together, versus like, hey, want to work with you, sign the check, do the thing, I never talk to you again. it goes a long way. I mean, more recently, a real life example, I was in Austin and spent some time with a partner that I had worked with and signed for Acorns, Andrew Schultz, right? Top podcaster, top comedian. We're out at the paddle club in Austin, and he sees me, I see him. We just talk as if we're friends, right? And so it goes back to that sort of approach that I mentioned. Like, before I did anything with Andrew, I wanted to get to know Andrew, know his manager, know his team, and like be able to get to know him at the most human level to then go and build and make sure that the interests are aligned from all parties. And that just makes the partnership that much better. Like, I mean, as a result, like Andrew Schultz, when we first started getting to know him and working together, I mean, we paid him for placement in his podcast, but then also he started talking about us organically without pay because he was just that much in tune and in know with the brand.
So it's still just about relationships at the core of everything.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So, like, any fun stories, behind the scenes learnings from working with such high profile creators or marketers that that marketers would be surprised by?
Some of the others that I signed some deals with would be like Theo, who I shared some time with in San Antonio when he was on tour doing his show. And like, what you see on the podcast for him is what you get when he's not on screen or on stage. Like, he's as real as they get. And I really have enjoyed getting to work with him and his team, but then also just getting to know him like as a friend, right? And so like some of the rapport I've been able to build with him has just been some funny banter where like he jokes, I joke, and we go back and forth. And I'm like, this is like funny because some of the material that I've just created in these interactions, like I've given it to him and like, hey, if you ever want to run with it, take it. So like in the event he runs with a joke that I'm familiar with, that's just kind of cool, like off camera, off the screen. But I think the thing I think about, and this takes me back to my Facebook days, is like when I was dealing with very notable brands, executives, and even talent, was like, I just try to treat celebrities like people and people like celebrities, and then everything sort of should take care of itself and level out. And these human relationships have been just at the core of anything I've ever done, because there's people on the other end of the line, the other end of the email, text, phone call, etc. And so like he's as real as they get. Like, what you see is what you get. I mean, another fun story too would be spending time and doing a deal with Michelle Obama and her brother, which was phenomenal, and spending basically a full day with them at South by Southwest earlier this year as one of the partners for their podcast. In my opinion, is what it's called. It's a great podcast.
Thanks for the invite, by the way. I would have been happy to hang out with Craig and Michelle.
I'm sure you would have, but the protocol that you have to follow for that with Secret Service was like,
I would not have passed a background check. Okay, enough said.
Yeah, you said it. I thought it, but even with Craig, right? Like, I got to meet him for the first time, and Michelle in Austin. Spent almost a full day with them and their teams. And then South by Southwest ends a couple weeks later. It's Final Four in San Antonio. I'm at the Alamo Dome at Final Four, and I run into Craig. And I'm like, dude, good to. And it's just like very friendly, very casual. But again, it's these touch points that are just very. And he was there with his son, and we're talking about basketball because he's a former coach and he still plays basketball from time to time. But yeah, it's for me, it's always more than the deal. It's always the people behind it that are going to work on the deals.
I mean, I think it's somewhat refreshing to hear that these individuals are. I mean, Michelle Obama obviously isn't a pantheon unto herself, but so many creators or influencers, podcasters, even, who may not be the same in terms of how they represent themselves publicly and then behind the scenes. I think you're finding the ones that are. I mean, Valerie is absolutely in real life the same person she is. I am probably much handsomer in real life. But that's, you don't always get what you
in dark
get.
rooms, right?
Yeah, exactly. You and I met kind of at the tail end of the craze that was the Web3 hype, and blockchain is still very much a thing. And I think it's kind of hit its stride now in terms of what it can be. But at MoonPay, I know you helped onboard creators and celebrities get into Web3, which may have helped or maybe even hurt the hype. I'm not sure. Probably we'll do a postmortem at some point. But did that give you any insights into how talent thinks about emerging tech? Because they are creative in their own way, and they are probably early adopters in that way too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think talent creator or not, the technology was confusing off the bat, right? Like I don't think it was ever intended off the bat to be so consumer facing that like an average person would understand what a digital wallet means, or blockchain or Ethereum or NFT and
gas
the
transaction
royalties,
fees,
like all these things that like you get it if you're in it and you're sort of in this echo chamber, but like when you're not in that echo chamber and you're just talking to your aunt who's in her 60s that lives in San Antonio, she don't know or care what any of that is. And I'm speaking from my own experience. But it was great to have the exposure and experience I did to some of the top creatives, especially in the fashion space. So I worked on a project with the CFDA, and they brought in Tommy Hilfiger, Diane von Fussenberg, Willie Chavarria, Coach. But that was really unique to then help shape what these NFTs could translate to if someone purchased it, whether it's you get access to front row to a fashion show, or you get an off the runway piece, or you get time with the design team at this fashion house or fashion designer. And I got to work on that. And that really helped to blend the world of creators or creatives and commerce and culture in a way that like I wasn't even planning on. And that all came through relationships that I had from a random encounter with someone I met at South by Southwest years prior that connected me with a publicist in New York. And then from there, it was just like, hey, we're going to be doing this project with the CFDA. And I'm like, how can I be involved and how can I bring MoonPay along? And that was pretty unique. I actually got to attend the Tommy Hilfiger fashion show that year. And that was for that year, and even like a life moment. That was a highlight for me because here I am, someone that growing up, I would save to then have a Tommy Hilfiger t-shirt in middle school. And then here I am, I got to meet the man behind Tommy himself. Right. So it was just something that like, had I not been in the space and the right timing, like a lot of things had to go right for it to happen. And a lot of things went right. A lot of things also went wrong, but a lot of things went right for me to be in that moment and have that experience, and forever grateful.
That's wonderful.
But yeah, ultimately at the end of it, like there's definitely a baseline expectation of knowledge that most people just don't have.
I know. I learned so much from Matt and listening to various podcasts because I was obsessed with it. I was like, what is this future we're heading towards? And it was wild. It was a wild ride in the early days.
Well, it's not dissimilar to what we're kind of experiencing now, except I think
AI?
It's happening more. Yeah, right? I mean, there are some parallels here between early Web3 hype and the current state of AI.
But I think consumer facing is like, it was immediate.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the business models from a lot of these Web3 companies that started, many of them which are just not around present day. They ran out of funding and they weren't really solving real business problems. But then the ones that pivoted are the ones that survive, MoonPay included, where they essentially went, instead of B2C, you go B2B to C, right? And so you're the rails, you're the back-end tech that can power a lot of great things. But at the end of the day, the consumer doesn't need to know or need to care to know to engage with that.
Well, I think what's interesting, actually, and I would love your take on this as someone who was kind of early days Meta, and I was working with Meta, and we probably crossed paths at some point more than a decade ago. But there were those innovative companies along the way in Web3 and now in AI who are creating something new. But Meta's a company that was kind of involved in all of these, and in some cases first, in some cases fast follow or adopters. But like, that's in the DNA, right? Like, are there things that you can see now looking back that Meta got right, or things that they may have missed when it comes to even now just with creators?
Yeah, I mean, I think what they got right was realizing they had the biggest platform and scale and reach with the Blue app, which is Facebook, that they should offer some sort of incentive for content that would feed the ecosystem where they can pay people out on it, but then they can sell more of that inventory to advertisers, and then everyone wins, right? It's still very much, it mirrors exactly the YouTube AdSense program, a 55-45 split. The one thing that I realized working on these different launches was you can do anything, but you shouldn't do everything. And so what I mean by that was, I mentioned live audio rooms, right? I think there was a time and place and moment where that was it because everyone was locked down. They were at home. Twitter Spaces blew up. Clubhouse became its own business, got all this funding, and then like in a post-COVID world that we're in now, which is very different than what it was during, a lot of user behavior changed, right? And so we took a lot of these businesses and made them products or features within the ecosystem. But then when you think about what you were probably using the platform for, it wasn't that. And so you like, it's hard. I mean, I know it happens more in like Western culture where it's like the everything app. But I think like fragmentation of services and offerings is still very much a thing that like as a consumer, I prefer. I think is the norm, right? You have an app for your banking, your crypto, your Chick-fil-A, your coffee, whatever it is, but like that's like a very normal thing. And I think what I saw is that we tried to compete, and we did, and we learned again all the very expensive lessons, and you just realize like at least we tried. What could we have done differently, sort of in the postmortem or the debrief? But I think one of the things they got right in trying to compete would be when I think about the wearables technology. And so I got to be a part of the launch for glasses, the Meta glasses, and the Ray-Ban glasses earlier on. Now I think they've got all sorts of different models and stuff. But I remember being tapped into a meeting and help building the creator council around that to get people that could have different use cases, whether you're a sneaker creator, whether you're a surfer, beauty, etc. So I helped put this inaugural council together. And it was just really great for me to understand the use case of like what these individuals would use these glasses for different POVs and content, etc. And it's been wonderful to watch that product iterate. I don't know what version they're on now, present day, but when it initially launched to now, it's been leaps and bounds better than what it was. People wear glasses. I'm wearing glasses now. I need them to see. So when you incorporate sort of a value proposition where it's like you can do what you're already doing but get additional benefit.
Well, is that also a barrier as someone who doesn't wear glasses? Like, I still don't understand the use case for me personally.
Sunglasses?
Or just in glasses. I don't really wear sunglasses very often, but I certainly don't have prescription glasses. So for me, that's always been the barrier why I never owned a pair of.
I like hands-free. I like the concept of not having to carry my phone. And like my neck.
That's coming soon. So yeah, okay. So that's coming.
And my neck having to be like,
Yeah, Gary Vee said in 5 years we won't use phones anymore. We're just going to walk around with things on our faces or on our bodies. So that's
wearables, which includes glasses and maybe other things that like just don't exist yet.
So like switching a bit, obviously based on your history, like where do you see the next frontier for creators and brands, and do you see AI? Like how do you see AI shaping creator partnerships and obviously content creation?
Likeness for creators is a big deal and has been a big deal, and it's how do you make sure that you're protecting yourself that way these brands or individuals can't just spin up these fake Sora videos where it looks like you're in the video but it's like deep fake basically. How do you protect that? How do you get paid from it if someone's using your content to feed a LLM? Like I think those are key questions that I don't have the particular answers to. But from a brand perspective, like when I think about AI more recently, and I just saw this report from Reddit, I forget the exact attribution they had claimed, but when you go to your agent, right, ChatGPT or whichever one you use, Reddit made the claim that if you promote on Reddit and essentially boost your visibility on their platform, which then feeds into a lot of these agents, then you have a higher chance of essentially surfacing as a result within that experience. And so
it's the new AEO, right? Gamification.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the
and so
algorithms.
Like when I think about that, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense because when you see it, the agent thinking, or even when it populates the results, you'll see like the little Reddit logo and some others. But Reddit tends to always be one of the first ones. It's all community driven, so they can scrape through API.
I asked ChatGPT like where they source mainly from, and it said Reddit was one of the main sources.
And so like that's one of the sort of opportunities that like if I'm a brand, I'm thinking of like arbitrage. Like how can I just make sure that I'm staying with user behavior of like I'm top of mind when someone is asking, hey, what's the best XYZ, and I'm a result that's at the top for that. And I think a lot can be essentially like a growth hacking method through Reddit, through paid.
It's smart. And look, things are moving so quickly that if we asked you this question again in 3 days or 3 months,
it could change. But this is as recent as of this week, because I literally just read this report
of course.
this week. No, but yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It's like that's why we have to stay curious and stay quick.
Yeah.
And speaking of quick, you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lightning round. So the rules are, there are no rules, but just try and be quick, I guess. Is that a rule? So this is like my influencer marketing early days brain still asking this question, but would you rather have like 10,000 super fans or 10 million passive followers?
Super fans, 10,000.
If you could borrow any creator's brain for like 24 hours, whose would it be and why?
Oof.
I think I'd pick MrBeast.
I would. Well, I mean, I think that's just the obvious answer. I'm gonna go with I got no. I got one.
That's what we're here for.
I got one. I show speed, and the reason I would pick him as who would want to take over for 24 hours and pick the brain would be because this guy turned 21 in January, and he's got the whole world on his shoulders, and so he's gotten this far, but I know he's got plans to go further with him and his team around him. And I'm just curious of what that looks like and what it entails. I mean, the guy just did a 30-day consecutive trip around the country in a tour bus sponsored by Dick's Sporting Goods. And he's got his show on YouTube exclusively. And he's arguably right now one of the most culturally relevant creators between him, Kai Cenat, MrBeast. But like this guy is rubbing shoulders with Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's like normal for him to be that now, do that now.
Yeah, Kai Cenat is insane. Like I feel like my son is obsessed in a way that I probably should get into his head because then I'd probably understand my son better.
I mean, Kai Cenat spent 30 days this summer actually in San Antonio in Tony Parker's old mansion. Here. Yeah, he did his Mafia-thon here.
Yeah.
Well, so what would you say to my kids or Valerie's son who probably want to grow up and be creators? How realistic is that?
Very. Do it.
All right. You heard it, kids.
Yeah.
I don't
Whether or not y'all agree with me, that's okay. But you asked for what I would tell them, and I would say do it because there's never been an easier time than now, my belief, just given the resources that they have.
And creator is associated with entrepreneurship in my mind. So if you can start that kind of grind early on, I feel like it's pretty legit. It can be.
Well, yes. I mean, I would say, Valerie, the three of us are creators in our own way. I mean, we're more B2B, I guess. But like, what should we be doing to expand our reach and impact?
I mean, I'm very bullish on LinkedIn. Like I have been and continue to be. It's actually the spots. I did my first and only brand deal through. Like I got a brand deal on LinkedIn from LinkedIn. And did some content for them during Latin Hispanic Heritage Month a couple years ago and got paid to talk about my professional endeavors and pursuits and how that translate for my culture. So that was really unique. But I think more today than ever, for y'all, or for me, for y'all, right, is it's a place that I still think is very much in its infancy stages in terms of maturation. And so if you want to build a following, you want to build your voice and what you're known for. I try to do it, but I've seen others do it. And it's just like running your own race to stay true to your own voice.
I hope you wrote that down, Valerie, because I did not have a pen. But
Matt, you are so like the post you did ranking on the ANA hotel choice. You are so overly authentic to who you are. It's what I love about you. But anyway, so you're on the right path.
The authenticity is key. We have to represent who we are, what we love. I know, JJ, you've been a part of you've been a committee member of Soho House. That's something that's important to you.
It is.
As a lightning round question, I guess, like, what has that experience been like?
Oh man, in short, wonderful. I've been involved in the Soho House committee for about 8.5 years now, and it's been truly rewarding just to be in this global community of I don't want to say like-minded, because everyone thinks differently from who I've met and encountered within the Soho House community. So these individuals who are forward-thinking, different thinking, and just extremely creative in their own capacity, whether they're entrepreneurs or restaurateurs or travelers or whatever it may be, they're some of the best in what they do for their given category. And traveling the world and having stayed and visited many of the houses, it literally feels like it's a home away from home.
I think the best
great.
thing they did was go private. I'm excited for what's next, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what
For that
happens.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, Valerie's a member, and I've enjoyed many breakfasts with her there. So thank you for that. And the last one, since I know and we can see that you're representing Longhorns, hook 'em.
Is it that obvious?
Is that suede? I'm digging it.
It's corduroy.
Oh, it's corduroy.
Oh, is it? Oh, I can't tell.
It is, yeah.
I mean, the pixels on my screen. Oh,
Oh,
there,
you go.
Okay.
I love it.
So it triggered a thought, which it probably is a longer answer than we have time for, but NIL has had a lot of positives and maybe even some negatives. As a Texas fan now, thinking about the stumbles that the Longhorns have made, A, can they make the college football playoff this year? And B, Arch Manning legacy, will it be more as a quarterback or an NIL superstar?
Can they? They can. Will they? I don't know.
Okay.
And then in terms of the second question, like, yeah, I like many other Texas fans and Texas alums had very high expectations for Manning and the team this season. And it's been tough to watch. And I think the expectations are just so high and unrealistic that, like, if he doesn't achieve them, then he's a failure, despite what the stats and records say. I'm just happy we have a really solid second string quarterback that's coming in that'll hopefully carry the load this weekend. But yeah, in terms of NIL versus legacy as a quarterback, I don't foresee him. And again, he's still got some years left should he stay at Texas, but I don't foresee him having the same impact or legacy left like a Vince Young, for example. But in the meantime, I mean, he's one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid NIL college athlete, with deals with Warby Parker and Red Bull. So maybe get someone from that team to join and get their take.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point. I know some people there.
Yeah. All right. Well, JJ, thank you. As the backup running back of our team, and on behalf of Valerie, who's our starting quarterback, thank you so much for doing this with us. It was really just a pleasure to hear your take and get your creative and your experienced take on just kind of what's happening now. So thanks again.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to seeing y'all somewhere.
I know,
Yeah,
you too, at a conference near you.
That I can promise and guarantee.
Thank you, Justin, Val, and Matt, for a fun conversation. I also want to get my creator and influencer skills a bit sharper so I can turn this golden voice into some real gold. But we'll shelf that for now. That's all for this episode of the Snarketing Podcast. See you next time.